Welcome to another Explainer. Today, we're going to jump right in and ask you to question one of the deepest, most fundamental assumptions you probably have about your own life. I mean, think about what happens to your body when you go to bed tonight. For most of us, sleep just feels like a gap in our existence, right? Just a total blank space. But what if literally everything you thought you knew about that blank space was entirely wrong?
For centuries, we've had this incredibly common, yet entirely incorrect belief that sleep is simply a passive state. We kind of picture ourselves like a smartphone with a drained battery, just resting, shutting down the body for the night, and lying totally dormant until the morning. We think of it as this period where absolutely nothing is happening. But, well, science tells a completely different and, honestly, much more fascinating story.
Because sleep isn't a power-off state. It is not just simple routine maintenance. It's actually an aggressive, incredibly complex, and absolutely vital biological process. While you're just lying there seemingly doing zero, your brain and your body are actually going to work in ways that are literally just as active as when you're wide awake.
Section 1. The Evolutionary Mystery.
To truly grasp how wild this is, we've got to travel back in time a bit. Why did every single animal on Earth evolve to sleep, especially given the incredible dangers it presents in the wild? Looking back, early primates slept purely for survival. But imagine being an early human or a primate out in the wilderness, lying totally unconscious for hours at a time. That makes you completely vulnerable to predators. It seems like a massive evolutionary disadvantage, right? So it forces us to ask, why on earth was this incredibly vulnerable state preserved throughout all of human evolution? Usually, nature quickly eliminates traits that get us killed.
Well, the crucial point is this. While sleep may have started millions of years ago simply as a way to stay quiet and hide from predators in the dark, it definitely didn't stay that way. Over time, it transitioned. It evolved into an absolutely critical, active process that is specifically designed to power higher brain function. Essentially, the brain hijacked this period of forced stillness and turned it into the ultimate biological upgrade.
Section 2. The deadly cost of waking.
So just how essential is this process? Let's escalate the stakes here. To really prove that sleep isn't just about, feeling rested or getting rid of those under-eye bags, we need to look at what happens when sleep is completely removed from the equation. It turns out this isn't just some lifestyle issue. It is quite literally a matter of life and death. And this brings us to a really shocking medical mystery from 1983 in Italy. Doctors were presented with a patient suffering from something entirely unprecedented. It wasn't a viral infection, it wasn't physical trauma, it was a fatal, uncurable form of insomnia. This patient's brain had simply lost the ability to generate sleep.
The grim reality of this case completely shocked the medical world. By being locked into this state of continuous, unbroken wakefulness, the patient's body and mind rapidly, horribly deteriorated. Total sleep deprivation led directly to the patient's death within just 8 months. And the craziest part? It wasn't from a secondary disease. It was simply from the total absence of sleep.
And we can back up this tragic human case with strict biological evidence, too. Controlled studies on rats have shown that when they're subjected to total sleep deprivation, the results are equally fatal and honestly even faster. Without sleep, these animals die in only 3 weeks. It definitively proves that wakefulness without the counterbalance of sleep is inherently toxic to living organisms.
Section 3. The Brain's Nightly Theater.
So, if avoiding sleep is actually deadly, what is actively keeping us alive when we finally do drift off? Well, for the longest time, scientists just couldn't peek behind the curtain. But then came 1953. This was the year of a massive breakthrough, the discovery of rapid eye movement, or REM sleep. Researchers hooked a sleeping subject up to an early EEG machine and watched as the paper printed out brainwaves that looked virtually identical to a brain that was wide awake. This completely shattered the old illusion of a quiet, inactive sleeping mind.
During REM sleep, something truly bizarre and highly orchestrated happens. The logic centers of your brain, the parts responsible for rational, everyday thought, they completely shut down. Meanwhile, your emotion centers light up and start running at maximum capacity. This specific biological cocktail is exactly why our dreams feel completely, undeniably real to us while we're in them, no matter how absolutely absurd the storyline actually is.
But REM sleep isn't just some built-in biological movie theater for our entertainment. It actually acts as overnight emotional therapy. While you dream, your brain is actively processing your daily experiences, stripping away the painful emotional charge of difficult memories and regulating your long-term mental health. It's essentially free, built-in psychological counseling happening inside your head every single night.
Section 4. The Deep Clean. Now, as incredible as REM sleep is for the mind, your body requires an intensive physical restoration process too. Think of it as a nightly deep clean. During your waking hours, your brain is constantly burning energy, right? And that creates toxic metabolic waste products that literally build up inside your head. When you drop into deep sleep, a physical mechanical cleaning system kicks in, washing over the brain and sweeping away all those accumulated toxins.
But what happens when you decide to stay up super late and wake up early? Well, cutting your sleep short physically prevents this nightly deep clean from actually finishing its cycle. Science has now established a direct biological link between chronic sleep deprivation, basically failing to clear out this daily waste, and severe neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's later in life. Furthermore, critical physical repairs are strictly confined to these deepest stages of sleep. It's only during this deep sleep window that your body triggers a massive release of growth hormone. If you don't get deep sleep, your muscles, your bones, and your immune system simply do not repair themselves from the wear and tear of the previous day.
Section 5. The modern sleep crisis.
So we need this aggressive process just to survive, but the way we live today is causing an urgent crisis. Think about how our ancestors lived. For the vast majority of human history, way before the invention of electricity, our sleep cycles perfectly followed the natural rise and fall of the sun. When it got dark, it was time to rest. Biology and environment were in perfect, undisturbed harmony.
Then, everything changed. The advent of artificial light completely and aggressively disrupts this ancient rhythm. Light acts as a powerful suppressor of melatonin. That's the chemical signal that tells your body it's time to go to sleep. By staring at bright bulbs and glowing screens after dark, we are biologically tricking our brains into believing the sun is still up, keeping us wide awake long past our natural bedtimes.
And the data comparing then versus now, it is staggering. Modern society has intentionally reduced its average sleep duration from a natural healthy 8 hours down to a meager 6.5 hours a night. We have sliced off a massive percentage of our restorative time, all in the name of productivity and nighttime entertainment. And you might think you're getting away with it, right? But you aren't. This creates an accumulating sleep debt, a biological deficit that science shows can never be fully repaid just by sleeping in on a weekend. This debt fundamentally alters our physical health and impairs our judgment. A sleep-deprived you is not the real you. You literally become a completely different, compromised person prone to poor decisions and emotional instability. And that brings us to the most common, everyday villain in this whole story, your morning alarm clock. We usually view it as a helpful tool to get us to work on time, but biologically speaking, it is a disruptive technological intervention. When that bell rings, it prematurely aborts a vital biological sequence before your brain has even finished its required cleaning and emotional therapy.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this thought to reflect on. The alarm you set tonight is not just waking you up tomorrow, it is ending a process. The question is, who's holding the controls? Are you going to let modern hustle culture completely dictate your biology, or are you going to finally take charge of your long-term health? Definitely something to think about tonight when you turn off the lights. Thanks for learning with me today.